The original health alert warned people who had visited the gas station that they may have been exposed to COVID-19. It was specifically a warning for people who had gone inside the gas station. It said there is no increased exposure risk for people who used gas pumps without entering the building. In the press release, Public Health Officer Teresa Frankovich warned that community transmission of the COVID-19 virus is occurring much more than it was even a couple weeks ago. Of course it is, because it's nice weather and there hasn't been a major outbreak yet. And a lot of people here in Humboldt County, California, think that the virus is a conspiracy. The combination of these three factors means that people who self-quarantined themselves in their own homes for a few weeks have gotten fed up with it, decided it is ridiculous and unnecessary, and started to go outside again. That's why suddenly there's an outbreak at a gas station, and suddenly there's an outbreak at a nursing home. And by the way, I haven't gone to that gas station in a very long time, but it is like 1 block away from the grocery outlet that I frequently go to. Humboldt County, California, where I live, is about to allow a bunch of businesses to reopen. And they may allow restaurants to reopen the day after tomorrow. They made these plans just before the news broke that there was a coronavirus outbreak at a local nursing home. I was going to talk about the nursing home, but then the news broke about the gas station. Because the gas station is very close to my house, I have to talk about the gas station first. But before I talk about the coronavirus outbreaks at one of our local nursing homes and one of our local gas stations, I would like to mention that despite these outbreaks, Humboldt County's government has not changed their plans to allow businesses to start to reopen. This seems to be what's going on in a lot of places in America. Just as outbreaks are starting, or small outbreaks are starting to get really bad, cities, counties, and states are reopening. Please explain to me what the point of the lockdown was if various different areas are ending the lockdown just as outbreaks are starting, or as outbreaks are starting to get worse. Because that doesn't make any sense to me. It seems to defeat the purpose of having the lockdown in the first place. The day before yesterday, the Humboldt County Health Department announced that anyone who had gone to the Chevron gas station or Aztec Grill in Mckinleyville between 10:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. on May 15th to May 20th had been exposed to coronavirus. Yesterday, they updated their public health announcement to say that they were changing the hours. Anyone who was at the Chevron gas station or Aztec Grill, which is inside the Chevron gas station, between 4:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. any day between May 15th to May 20th should contact the Humboldt County Health Department to be tested for coronavirus. First of all, I'm pretty sure that gas station is not open at 4:30 a.m., so it must have been an employee who stocks the shelves at night before the store opens who was infected. The original health alert warned people who had visited the gas station that they may have been exposed to COVID-19. It was specifically a warning for people who had gone inside the gas station. It said there is no increased exposure risk for people who used gas pumps without entering the building. In the press release, Public Health Officer Teresa Frankovich warned that community transmission of the COVID-19 virus is occurring much more than it was even a couple weeks ago. Of course it is, because it's nice weather and there hasn't been a major outbreak yet. And a lot of people here in Humboldt County, California, think that the virus is a conspiracy. The combination of these three factors means that people who self-quarantined themselves in their own homes for a few weeks have gotten fed up with it, decided it is ridiculous and unnecessary, and started to go outside again. That's why suddenly there's an outbreak at a gas station, and suddenly there's an outbreak at a nursing home. And by the way, I haven't gone to that gas station in a very long time, but it is like 1 block away from the grocery outlet that I frequently go to, and a lot of people who are homeless go to both that gas station and that grocery outlet. Actually, a lot of people who aren't homeless also do go to both of those businesses, but especially a lot of homeless people, including homeless people who live in the woods behind my neighborhood, go to that gas station and that grocery outlet, mostly to buy cheap food and alcohol. Regardless, there's a very good chance that somebody in my neighborhood went to that gas station during those hours. Or that somebody who goes to the grocery outlet that I go to went to that gas station, then went into grocery outlet right afterwards. And I also don't believe that there's not a risk for people who touched the gas pumps, because some people go into the gas station, pay for their gas before they pump it, or buy something before they pump their gas, and then they touch the gas pump. And then somebody else touches the gas pump, and then somebody else, and then somebody else. And coronavirus can live on surfaces and can be transmitted that way. Even though now they're saying that it is not the primary mode of transmission, that doesn't mean that it can't be transmitted that way. It just means that most people are catching it from other people coming into direct contact with them, not that way. So it still can be transmitted that way, and it still is being transmitted that way. So there is a risk, although less of a risk, for people who use the gas pump without going into the building. Now that I have talked about this gas station story, I am going to read you another story, also from the North Coast Journal, and talk about it. This story is about how Alder Bay, which is a nursing home, is short on staff amid a COVID-19 outbreak, because somehow coronavirus got into the nursing home, and then they allowed it to spread, and so far, 2 residents have died, 7 residents and 5 staff members have been infected. And there's going to be more of them, and more of them, and more of them. I suspect it got into the nursing home because somebody who enters a hospital also entered that nursing home. Somebody like a nurse working at a hospital who also works at a nursing home, or a linen cleaning service that cleans linens for both a hospital and a nursing home. Somebody brought coronavirus into that nursing home somehow. I would like to say a few things about that nursing home. I had a friend living here. His name was Murray, and he was in his 50s. And for a long time, while he was living here, he was on oxygen and having problems with emphysema and COPD and a heart condition. And he did not want to get put into any nursing home in Humboldt County, California, especially not that one, because he had heard horror stories about how bad that nursing home was. Ultimately, when he got too sick for me to take care of him on my own, his family brought him up to Washington. He stayed with his family for a few years. Then they put him in a nursing home in Seattle. He died shortly thereafter, because the nursing home didn't take care of him. And while he was in the nursing home, before he died, he was posting horrible stuff on Facebook about how they weren't treating him right, they weren't feeding him enough food, they were disrespecting him, abusing him. Murray was a difficult person to get along with, but he was a much more difficult person to get along with when you were being mean to him. If you were nice to him, it was difficult enough, but if you were being mean, it was just almost impossible. He was a very irritable and reactive person. So anyone taking care of him, especially if he was in a sick and uncomfortable state, would have to be very kind and very sensitive and very patient. When I first met Murray, when I moved to Humboldt County, California in 2002, shortly thereafter, I found out that my grandmother was dying in a nursing home in Chula Vista, California, which is in Southern California, so south it's like almost right next to Mexico. So we went down there to Chula Vista to visit my grandmother in the nursing home, and what I saw was the nursing home staff like torturing my grandmother. When they fed her lunch, a nurse came in, tried to shove a few giant spoonfuls into my grandmother's mouth. And by the way, my grandmother was like on her deathbed. She was like senile, barely able to chew, barely able to talk, barely able to breathe. Anyway, after jamming or trying to jam 2 giant spoonfuls of food into her mouth, which she choked and gagged up, the nurse started to walk away. And I said, "Excuse me, aren't you going to finish feeding my grandmother her lunch?" And the nurse said, "Oh, she wasn't hungry. She wouldn't eat it," and like stormed out of the room. I then proceeded to feed my grandmother like little itty bitty bits of food off of this spoon. It took like 20 minutes to feed her a spoonful of food. That was probably the last whole meal she got before she died a few days later. Don't tell me that the people in this nursing home that are getting coronavirus are getting the proper care or the proper amount of care from like anyone, or that people in any nursing home in America or anywhere in the world are getting the proper care or the proper amount of care from anyone. Because they're not. Nursing homes killed my grandmother. Nursing homes killed my best friend. And now they're killing a bunch of people in Humboldt County, California. Because if one person in that nursing home got coronavirus, everybody else should have been evacuated. And the building should have been sterilized. And the people should have been put in separate housing with separate nurses taking care of them so the infection couldn't spread. By not doing that, they allowed the infection to spread into that nursing home, which they shouldn't have allowed to get in there in the first place. But once it got in there, they shouldn't have allowed it to spread. So, 2 people have died so far. 2 people whose lives did matter, even if they were old or sick. 2 people who would have had possibly many more years of life if they hadn't gotten coronavirus due to a negligent nursing home allowing them to get infected with it. And that is horrible and tragic, and a very good reason why Humboldt County, California should not decide that now, right when the outbreak is finally starting here, is the time to reopen a bunch of businesses. The minute that the businesses reopen, there's going to be more of that community spread that public health officer Teresa Frankovich was talking about when she warned that community transmission of the COVID-19 virus is occurring much more than it was even a couple weeks ago. Every time I read that, I want to say a couple of weeks ago. But I'm reading her words, a couple weeks ago. If community transmission is occurring even more than it was a couple weeks ago, why are they reopening all of the businesses now? It doesn't make any sense to me. Unless they just want us to die. If you agree with what I said in this video, please like this video, share this video, watch my other videos, and subscribe to my channel. And if you would like to help me to make more videos, you can by donating money to me on Patreon or other sites, or buying things for me off of my Amazon wish list or other sites, I am slowly adding more and more links to sites where people can either donate money to me or buy things from me. Thank you for watching. Bye.